gentlemen, today we have Theo Jager on the Queensland couch. It's actually a pleasure to meet you in person. I actually did a lot of research about you and learned a lot about you. And it's quite interesting for me personally to also sit down with you on the couch and ask you a few questions. So welcome to Queens on the Couch, actually.
Thank you, and what a privilege it is also to meet you.
Doing a few background check as well. President of the World Farmers Organization, former president of the Southern African Confederation of Agriculture Union, Pan-African Farmer Union from 2014 to 2017, if I'm correct. You also studied in Pretoria. I believe you have a doctorate in physiology. Philosophy, okay. So what led to that for you to actually start studying philosophy?
Yeah, I did not really plan to one day do my doctorate in philosophy.
Yeah.
When I started studying, I took philosophy as just one of the filler subjects.
Yeah.
And it got under my skin. I fell in love with it. And then took it right through. I ended up doing my doctorate in African philosophy.
And I see you also born in Kempton Park. So I feel like people in Kempton Park are actually excited about your success, actually. You matriculated in Menlo Park as well.
Yeah.
How was it on your days there in Menlo Park?
Well, back in those days, Menlo Park was really the power in athletics.
Yeah.
And that's not why I went there. I was a bit useless in athletics, although I took part as much as I could.
Yeah.
Played a little rugby, that was 1980. And actually really started to enjoy my rugby when I started with my career in the Defence Force. In those days we all had 2 years compulsory military service.
Yeah.
And either you could do some hard work on the in training on a Wednesday afternoon, or you could go play some rugby and then at least see some of the city and get out of the camp, you know.
True.
So I started playing
rugby back then.
Better rugby in the Defence Force.
Speaking about rugby, let's go back to your Queen's days, actually. You're also part of the Queen's family. How was it back then when you used to play for Harlequins?
Yeah, that was in the middle of the 1980s, early 1990s. We played a different kind of rugby then, eh?
Yeah.
Much of what would be applauded in those days would be a red card today. I'm not so sure that I would have been able to play this game. And there was, remember, it was way before professional rugby.
Yeah.
Everything was amateur rugby. And the clubs were very strong. The clubs were really the foundation of the provincial teams. And in those days our big enemies was Defence Force, police. Because they could bring players from anywhere in the country just to strengthen the club. And then I got an injury one day in a match against Westlickers. And that day I knew my rugby is over today. And then I lost contact with Harlequins for some 30 years until my good friend Richard Bands drew me back.
Then how does it feel to be back home?
Oh, I love every moment of it. I love it to work with the rest of the board. I love working with the players, the youngsters. And the moment you engage with young people, it is as if you have a glimpse of the future.
Of the future as well. I mean, it also takes you back to the time you were also playing, because coming back to Queens now, not only are you going to you're involved in terms of now you're helping out with the youngsters. So you had your share back then, but now you're giving it back to the youngsters now that are going to pursue in this thing in the future. So how is your involvement going to be in the Highlands?
Well, it's limited now to the management side of it. I'm so excited about the investment which Blue Bulls is making in its clubs again. I can't tell you how excited I am with the places they are taking the Carlton Cup again.
True.
Because it gives you that depth.
Yeah.
And it gives players an opportunity to play. Players like me, who would never have made it into a provincial team, but for whom the rugby is sheer joy.
Yeah.
Because ultimately, if you strip it from everything else, it's about these two institutions in rugby. It's about the players, the athletes on the field, with the sweat and blood on their skins, and more important, it's about the supporters. It's about those people who are jumping up and down next to the field or in front of a television screen.
That's what keeps us going as well, you know. People
absolutely. And we must keep those interests right in the middle of the management of rugby.
That's true. That's true. What's your vision of Harlequins in the next 5 years? Where do you think it will be? Because already it's coming out strong. I mean, Joel with the Carlton League, we're also pushing there. We have a lot of teams coming up. Our first team actually did well, just fell short this year. But what's the vision of Harlequins in 5 years? Why do you think it will be in the next 5 years?
Well, it's not a simple question. I'm not going to risk a simple answer.
Yeah.
I have a dream of Harlequins being the local club in the country.
True.
Where young players already from their days in school aspire to be part of that. I have this dream of Harlequins bringing the crowds.
True.
Because those crowds are usually families sitting next to the field, enjoying both the game and the club life around the game.
Yeah, around there as well. Yeah.
And then I have a dream for Harlequins to be the channel to greater things.
True.
Because you know, when you get to my age and you look back, you remember your days on the field and you see what's happening now. Rugby is a microcosm of real life.
True.
There are strict rules. If you don't abide by the rules, you are punished. The referee is not always fair. Life is not always fair. You get an opportunity with ball in hand to go through a gap, and it's a split second, and if you don't take it, you've missed it forever. And sometimes you get the right things, sometimes through sheer luck, sometimes because of all the hard work you've put into it, and you get the applaud. And sometimes you drop the ball, and everybody moves. This is life.
It is life.
This is what life is all about.
True. So, what would you tell a kid coming from, you know, an unfortunate place or any rural area, and they want to be involved with Harlequins? What could you tell them that will pull them more into the system of Harlequins?
Just do it. Just get involved. Just come to the field.
Yeah.
You must raise your hand and say, "Here I am, and I want to play." And in the Harlequins family, we are quite a closely knit family, and a very diverse family. If you need some assistance, there will be somebody who can take your hand. And if the challenge is finances, if the challenge is location, if the challenge is the skills, there will be somebody who can fill the gaps for you and help you.
Why would I want to choose Harlequins? What makes Harlequins so special in the system?
What an important question. Firstly, because it's not an exclusive club. There's a place for everybody. And the top positions, the players in the first team, access to that team is open to everybody. I can show you so many of those players who never thought that they would get there, and they did. But also, Harlequins have this wonderful facilities, and it belongs to us. You can be certain it will be there. You can go there anytime, and you can practice on your own, you can train on your own. But also the multi-dimensional focus of Harlequins. It is a big sports club with numerous sports. And you have access to some of the best experts, whether it is on sportsman's health, whether it is on fitness, whether it is on skills training. There's something of everything you need to get to the top. And then there's this family feeling about it. And it's not something I can explain to somebody who's not been there.
You have to feel it.
You will feel that you belong the moment you become part of the club.
You know, touching on that, me myself playing there as well, I keep seeing like people way older than me, and they're always coming back. You know, even when they still coming back to Highlanders, because the feeling, the vibe, you know, when the first team is playing, how everybody could sit together, communicate, chat out. So I feel like the atmosphere there is different from any other club as well that I know. Because I see a lot of people coming in, they keep staying after the games, going to Queens and Bulls, having a chat there, a drink. Like, that's the vibe we actually need. That's why I feel like a lot of youngsters should also get involved in Pelicans as well.
You know, it has not changed in 35 years. This is how I experienced Harlequins back in the 80s. So when Richard took me back there, it was exactly the same.
Same feeling.
I felt just like getting back to the family.
Atmosphere.
So it is really my prayer that you will sit here in 30 years from now and tell a youngster, I remember way back in the 2020s, it was still that way.
Earlier on I had an interview with Richard Baines, and he spoke about kids coming into the system and not actually making it, falling off the cracks and so on. And he also believed that Pelicans was the place for them to actually go, for them to build their success, because there's a lot of exposure to them once they're there. Talking about you yourself actually getting involved, Jake White, spoke about a lot of people who normally came there. So what do you think about the kids that might have fallen through the cracks? What would you tell them? Why should they pitch up to Harlequins so that they can pursue in what they want to do still?
We have this absolute unique partnership between Harlequins and Flamenco, the company of Richard and Gerard, where they assist through kind of a scholarship. They get tax money from companies and they reinvest it in youngsters. And they build that little bridge between what is impossible on this side to where you can survive and start with a career and build your experience on the other side. That's the little financial bridge they build for youngsters. Not only in rugby, I engage with them in agriculture. They do it in other sectors of the economy too, but because of Richard's background, he has an absolute passion for rugby, and I think he's the first one who really implemented this mechanism also in sports. Means there are so many youngsters who would have fallen through the cracks, would not have had the opportunity, was it not for this scholarship which he made available to help them to survive. It's not something which will make them wealthy. It is something which will keep them going up to the point where they get greater opportunities in life.
That's true.
And you know, we celebrated the 120th birthday of Harlequins this week. There are very, very few organizations in civil society in South Africa today who survive to be 120 years old. And it's not only reaching that age, it's about excelling, getting better, building this tradition. And the colors we wear on the sports fields is actually a symbol of that tradition, a wealthy tradition of excellence and bringing people from nowhere to the top.
That's true. That's true. I feel like I also had the same experience myself. I've experienced the family and the vibe, the atmosphere in Harlequins. It's actually amazing. You know, I can't tell someone, but I would say you have to be there for you to experience what they can do for you as well.
Even if I live to be 200 years old, I will not forget this experience last week at that celebration, where there were some of the players who played this year in the Carlton, in all the various teams, and they were former players, deep in their 80s, who also came through the ranks, all sitting around one table and celebrating this club and the impact this club had on our lives.
It's true, it's true. But thank you for actually having this chat with us. We appreciate you coming. We appreciate knowing that the fact that even you guys, even though you're still out of Highlands, you can still come back home and say this is home for us. So thank you for actually having the time to have this cool and chat with us on the couch.
Thank you, Lindsay.
Thanks. Okay. There you go, everybody. We have it. Queens on the couch. We have Theo Jager with us. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned for more. It's actually a good feeling to have him here so that we can know that even when you're out of the Highland Queens, you can still come back and say, this is home for me. You know, so thank you. Thank you for watching.